Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the game you've been all waiting for. Not all. I received like 4 comments. I've been slow. It's my bad. I didn't really... I felt very fatigued after doing all the things, and I tried streaming and said that I would do it on stream, and it was like, man, I'm so tired. So I just need to chill out and play some PlayStation, some Crash Bandicoot, and get angry at that game instead. So, Fenerbahce Esports versus Samsung Galaxy. I tried to avoid spoilers as well as I could, but I know the end of this one, so I'm going to admit that right off the bat. I heard it's a crazy one. So let's take a look at the draft. First pick, Sejuani. Quite good considering Gragas and Jarvan is out. Don't like the response from Samsung. I think Xayah and Janna is the best bot lane right now that you can possibly pick. I think it's really OP that you can perma push bottom, and Xayah synergizes very well with the extra 80. So Lulu and Tristana are going to be on the turret. They're going to look for trades, and they're going to basically scale well into the game, but Fenerbahce's bot lane is going to have a lot of priority here. The bans, I thought it was strange that Samsung Galaxy red side banned Gragas. I thought the trade that they're committing to here is Xayah and Sejuani, because both, like, the trio of junglers is now out. But Samsung seem completely happy with playing the Ezreal. Haro, if correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's the jungler that played more like the carry champions. It's going to be interesting to see how Samsung play without Ambition, because the rumor has it that Ambition is the captain of the ship. I think Ambition as a jungler maybe isn't that mechanically flashy, but I think he's mechanically good enough for it to not matter anymore. And then I think his decision making is sublime. I think his decision making is really good, and he rarely falls behind even if he cheeses. Haro, on the other hand, I'm not going to say that I have that much information on him. Let's see how he does on the Ezreal. So with the Gragas ban, it's they have to follow on something else, and Ezreal is the pick that they go for. Ezreal is fine, it's Sejuani, right, and he can do quite well against Sejuani in the early game. First, let's take a look at these bans, right? Red side are banning some mid laners to set themselves up for the first pick mid lane into last pick top. Syndra is the pick that they do with the Kassadin LeBlanc ban. And on the blue side, we see a Lucian Shen ban. Interesting. I don't think necessarily that Lucian would have been picked in this case. Like, they already have 2 ADs. Syndra is picked. Fenerbahce had the option here of going either Echo or Corki into the Syndra. Not a big deal. Like, I think Syndra is the better blind if you compare it to Ryze, for example. And Kassadin and LeBlanc are champions that can do fine into Syndra. I don't think it's necessary 100% to ban them, but this was like kind of a why not type of ban. In a case where the enemy team bans Syndra here, then Talia looks pretty free and juicy for Samsung, even though they don't have like maybe the best team comp for it. So Syndra is the blind from Samsung. I'm curious what they would have picked if Syndra was one of the bans here from Fenerbahce. I think the main consideration for them would be Talia, maybe Orianna potentially. Orianna could make this into kind of a decent death ball with Kassadin, LeBlanc, and Syndra out, and I don't think Orianna has that many bad matchups. Fenerbahce respond with Echo and Cho'Gath. So Cho'Gath has been the go-to blind throughout this week. Not any top lane bans. I don't think Shen is the super one that you need to do, especially considering teams have been playing Trundle, teams have been playing Jace, and I feel like coming into the next week, we're going to have less and less Cho'Gaths, because people have recognized the flaw of Cho'Gath. He's kind of like a Darius. He's a massive chunk of stats, and sometimes he feasts your AD and all of a sudden you lost the game. That happens. But if you play correctly against Cho'Gath, you can kite him, and sure, if Cho'Gath has the right composition built around him, or he has some engage and some tools to work with, then he can also make use of these stats with his Righteous Glory and just charge in and maybe follow up on the Sejuani engage. So Cho'Gath definitely has a place, but he has definitive flaws. Echo as a champion picked into Syndra. The main thing for Echo is that he can eventually outtrade Syndra. He can ult Syndra's ult, right? And A big thing for Echo in the early game is that he can E and he can dodge 2 abilities from Syndra in some cases, where he E's and then autos the moment, like he can E one spell, it's kind of a dash, if he E's the Syndra Q, whatever, and then he can hit something to dash again, right? So this is good for him, and then early on he can trade, he can run the TP, and he can also in some cases contest the push too if he's using flat AP runes. So I think Echo is a fine pick into Syndra. A big issue for Echo is that a lot of the supports are very good into him, like the Lulu can peel him very well, he's stuck in 1 CC and all of a sudden he can die. So this is a big problem for Echo, and his itemization is subpar. Like his itemization is not too good, and he can run into the same issues as Fizz, where he falls off around, like unless he's super far ahead he can fall off, but eventually because you run TP, you can split push and gain a lot of that farm that other mid laners might miss, and then you can reach that Void Sap 4 items, and all of a sudden you can spike again and do ridiculous things with your TP. And then of course, like, Echo has this potential to win team fights by hitting good Ws, so Echo as a champion definitely is viable. Trundle is picked here. The big reason here why Trundle is really good into Fenerbahce, it's kind of a dream here, because I think Trundle should be able to 1v1 Echo for the major duration of the game, unless Echo reaches that point where he can trade and run away and then trade again, and then maybe Trundle dies. This is the play pattern Echo needs to commit to, but in the early stages Trundle can itemize MR, he can definitely outpush the Echo, so wherever the Trundle is sent to, he's going to do fine in the 1v1, either if it's against Cho'Gath or against Echo. And also on top of that, Trundle ultimate is very good against Sejuani, right? If he ults her in the start, he takes all those extra stats that she gets from her passive. So Trundle, this is like his dream team to play against here. Of course, he doesn't like playing against Janna and Xayah, but you can't wish for anything better at 7.18. So I am intrigued. I think there's a lot of good sides to both team compositions. I think it's a big advantage here that they have Xayah and Janna, and potentially the stronger jungler. Samsung, you know, they have a lot of ways of kind of teleporting away and dashing away from the Sejuani ultimate, so maybe it's not too bad, the trade-off here. And Sejuani is gonna run Syndra's gonna run cleanse in mid lane, so it's not gonna be that terrible, right? So let's head into it. Later on into the game, we will expect, you know, I think Samsung have an edge later on in the game, because I feel like Samsung can definitely deal with the front lines very easily. And Fenerbahce have this split push composition going, and they have a very strong AD and support that can go into mid lane and wave clear a lot of waves. So I think they have a recipe for success as well, but I'm sure we will head into that discussion the further we go into the game. Let's continue. I'm just gonna take a sip and let this roll a bit. Okay. Whoa, too much. All right. No cheekiness here. Seems like Trundle's just walking in to get some information. We have some. Wait. So Samsung gets spotted on the invade. 2 wards placed. We see in the river here. I didn't put on. Wait, I'm just gonna pause here and. Epic pen, where you at? There we go. Are you triggered by the amount of tabs I have? Tabs I have open. Okay, so we saw 2 walls placed here on river, so Fenerbahce are fully aware of what is going on in the invade. They know that Samsung is knee deep. No response here from Fenerbahce to go counter invade and move in here. They kind of place a very defensive ward and they don't get any information here. I think it's a mistake. Samsung have full control over the enemy jungle, and Trundle is allowed to enter here. So this is a big issue, right? No one is checking the Samsung privilege here. So Samsung get to start here, and Fenerbahce have no idea where the enemy jungle starts or what is going on here. They're not even sure that they get invaded on here. Like Ruler and Core JJ didn't really reveal anything from coming from the tri-bush here. But now they know. Now they know, right? Now they know. Now they know. Echo's gonna TP back into lane, so it's not too terrible. It's going to be a lot worse when Syndra gets to base, right? But as of now, you know, Echo's gonna have a level disadvantage, and the fact that he's burnt flash is a big issue. So this first block money is not gonna kick in until Syndra gets her first base in, but basing it against Echo is going to be very easy. Echo doesn't even TP back, he walks back all the way back. I'm not too sure if that was the right decision. It depends how many CS he gained, lost. But by the looks of it, maybe Syndra was slow pushing and didn't necessarily use spells on the wave. Could be the case, I'm not too sure, we didn't see it. So Crash now, he is, you know, he doesn't have a red buff. Ezreal gets to kill all the premium captains. This is one of the strengths of Ezreal's, right? That his level 1 is very powerful. Now this is a big problem for Fenerbahce, that their level 1 information is, you know, this level 1 information is crucial here. I'm just gonna remove my phone. Sorry, it was a bit distracting, so I looked down. The level 1 information is crucial, and Haru just, in reality, he just wanted to rush top. He wanted to rush top side to get to his own red buff in case the enemy team took it, but he got to pick up a free kill on the way past it. So he's a very happy Ezreal here. Crash did a full clear, and he's a bit behind. Of course, he lost his red buff, right? Can fast forward this. See if Haru was spotted on the way here. Gets pinged out. They know about him. Tolerance may be a bit too far forward here. As he's contesting with the fact that he has red buff, Tolerant might have to burn his flash in this case. Well, Tolerant dying when his jungler is getting sieged on in his own jungle is a big issue here. Big issue. So far Haru is doing good. He got the ganks in, and I think this was two scenarios though where Fenerbahce didn't need to die. Like, they knew exactly where Ezreal was, and then Tolerant tried to collapse, and then he didn't, and then he tried to hide in the bush, and obviously the enemy team knows that he's there. Like, who you kidding, man? You're just trying to hide in the bush, man. This is kind of funny. Look at him. He's like, shit, man. Right now, like, we're gonna see the replay right now. He's like, shit, man, I'm gonna help with the Ezreal, and then he's like, shit, man, I'm just gonna chill in this bush right here. And then he got completely screwed over. Beautiful flash, and then, you know, transition into another kill. I'm not too sure what Haru did during this time because of the replay, so that kind of sucks. We just get a replay into another gank, and by the looks of it, he was just chilling in the bush. So another easy gank pickup for Haru. He was just waiting in the bush, and Crash was coming up there, and what Cho'Gath needed to do was just wait, because his wave was getting slow pushed. He didn't have to stress anything. And if we take a look at bottom, Ruler and Core JJ are heavily destroying Padan on the bottom. He's running Relic Shield, and the lane that I thought would do better would be Xayah and Janna, but it seems like it's not the case. They're not able to get their push on. A main thing here that the strength is with Tristan and Lulu is that they can trade very well, and if Lulu commits into the trades against Janna, she's going to win those. So it seems like Samsung has been playing out the bot lane trades very well. Samsung are just continuing to snowball by doing Infernal Drake. There's absolutely no response because Fenerbahce's bot lane is also stuck in the tower, and Frozen is nowhere to be found. Like, with this vision information, it's no big deal here, and Samsung gets a very valuable Drake. Very well played. I wish we could like analyze what happened in the bot lane, like why Samsung is destroying them so hard, because I'm really curious to see how they just played it out. It would be very interesting to have like player focused streams. I would love to have that kind of freedom in what I watch. Echo now 10 Cs behind is not too terrible considering the situation. TP back to lane, he was low mana. Samsung managed to pick up the dragon. Sejuani did get to secure a red buff though during the time where Harrow was doing Infernal Drake, so Sejuani got some valuable jungle time here, but as soon as Harrow picks up his own camps, then it's going to be all fine. Cho'Gath up top, no flash. This is an easy dive. Like, Tal'Darim has no stacks yet on his ultimate, and the banana is just going to slice him in half. Let's see what the counterplay from Fenerbahce. Don't like the fact here that Samsung are committing to this play topside, and they're playing very far up here. So they're trying to push the second wave, and in reality, if anything, what they should have done is, like, they got the wave pushed into the turret, and I think what they should be doing here already when Fenerbahce is farming under the turret is to go together with their bot lane, knowing that they are making the play here, and maybe force Sejuani out from taking these jungle camps, because this would definitely be the play to do. But right now they're kind of overstayed, the wave is half health, they didn't allow the wave to slow push towards them, and in reality they should have allowed the wave to slow push towards them, so they wouldn't take any risks here, because there's no way that Tristana and Lulu get Dovin at this point in time, but Lulu gets cancelled, he's really low on HP, he's getting slowed, he's getting rooted. Let's see if Lulu can survive this. It's going to be really close. Core Judge is level 5, there's no ultimate from him, heal gets dropped, but top tower now for Samsung during this time. Obviously Dove Cho'Gath, there was a free pickup. Cho'Gath is now 0-3-0. Got the Bramble Vest to counter the Trundle, but in general here, I think it was a mistake from Samsung. They shouldn't have died in this gank, and there was very little counterplay here from Sejuani, and the main thing is that Samsung has enough vision to work with here. So sure, Sejuani could be chilling here, but I'm not even sure if Sejuani was spotted on the bottom side. Maybe she was, maybe that's why the dive top was so free. Let's take a look if we can see it from Fenerbahce's, Fenerbahce's position here. We see Sejuani there, and then we spotted her on the ward, and she's doing crap. She's completely visible during this time. So it's even more disappointing that Samsung are dying to this gank. The worst feeling for any jungler is that you make something good happen top, and then something bad happens bottom. Let's see now if Fenerbahce have enough to take the bottom tower. I sincerely doubt it. They are too low to stay. They should just base after pushing in. And Samsung have a massive gold lead. Massive gold lead. So the game time is 1 hour and 7 minutes. I need to use that LOL event VODs. I need to make sure that I don't see the game time, because now I know it's going to be a long sucker, as it seems here, you know. So we see this situation again. Samsung had enough information to play that better. They could have also survived in the gank. Like, let's say they just took a risk and they didn't have information on Sejuani. Then if Ruler doesn't get cancelled on his W, he's also 100% fine. But in terms of, like, speaking of fine, this gank doesn't seem to impact bottom at all. Fenerbahce have a big CS deficit, and it seems like Samsung can just keep pushing. I'm really curious. I might be wrong with how Tristana and Lulu work against... Ooh, is this a kill? Oh, Frozen gets back in. This might be a case where maybe Samsung just siege it up here. Ezreal has a blue buff, pushing in the wave to make sure that they can contest the Sejuani. But Sejuani has been relatively healthy in this game. She's taken all the Raptors, a lot of golems. She's very satisfied in her farm numbers, and the main problem for here is, like, which lane should she impact? There is bottom right, Tristana no flash. This would be the only position where they have potential, but Samsung have a lot of pressure through mid, and it's hard to just run straight bottom Sejuani and just create a gank. Samsung are consistently just playing around the fact that they have pressure mid, and stepping into the bot side of the jungle to make sure that Sejuani can't gank bottom for free. Okay. I have no idea what that thunder thing was. Trundle's also having a good time. Not sure why Echo is basing, but it's a big problem for Echo, right? That he doesn't have blue, and Syndra did, and Ezreal did. There's also, like, this vision advantage that Samsung have amounted to because of what's going on here is also a very big deal. Crown is gonna walk past the pink ward, but Echo's nowhere to be found. Lulu almost gets one-shotted. He still has ultimate. Not too sure how much I like this play, because Echo's gonna have free priority mid now, and he's gonna be able to walk down bottom to alleviate any pressure Syndra did. So it was a okay play to make, right? Okay play to make. Let's say there was no pink ward here and Crown wasn't spotted, then it would have been like genius, right? But in this case, there's a lot of pink wards on bottom side for Fenerbahce, and Crown was spotted along the way. Core JJ did get chunked in this exchange. There's something that I have to remember. So the play now for Samsung is just to maintain this pressure in mid, and the main difficulty for Fenerbahce is that they are getting pressured on every lane. Like Echo's getting pressured mids, and Ezreal's out pressuring the Sejuani right now, and it's hard to break this mold. It's very, very hard because they are getting pushed in every lane. It's very hard to create anything on the map while this is happening. The enemy team have full control and they take all the decisions. Anything that you do is going to be very predictable, and it's going to be you're just in a losing position, and sometimes when you're in a losing position there's not much you can do about it. Okay, Crown now with the cleanse has flash, cleanse first, and whoa, really nice E here from Frozen. Make sure that Crown's flash is going to be useless no matter what. Like, we can take a look at the angle that he comes from. So right now, for like, let's take a look here. I think Sejuani, I just want to see who cleared the pink ward. So Sejuani was clearing the pink ward on River now. Like, I think Echo is clearing the pink ward that they had, and Syndra is now completely blind on the bottom side. She has a pink ward in her inventory. Ezreal has no wards. Crown is taking a risk here because looking at his vision, it's non-existent. Frozen is basing and he's TPing. Like, this is really, really strange because Frozen is doing this to gank mid, and he thought it was about contesting this. But let's keep in mind here that Samsung spotted this TP. They knew the TP was going on, and Syndra still dies to this gank. Like, there's a very small marginal and Crown margin. Like, Crown could have pushed the wave and potentially survived, and it would have been like a good play, but it was a risk not worth taking because your team was already getting the value elsewhere, so you didn't need to necessarily take any risks there. But Crown dies with both summoners down, and this is going to allow Fenerbahce here to actually have a point of pressure. They want to play into the Syndra now and try to catch her with the next Sejuani ultimate, and I think it's going to be a good thing for them. It's actually gives them a win condition now in the early game. Like, their 2v2 in mid is going to be so much better now because Crown has no summoners, and Fenerbahce, both Echo and Sejuani do. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's red buffed. Oh, he's shielded too though. Fenerbahce, what is happening? Whoa, 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 bro. So Cho'Gath is on a mission here, that's for sure. Cho'Gath is, like, what Cho'Gath is doing is very unpredictable. Like, the wave is coming in from top lane, and Tal'Darim is just running around the map while this big wave is stacking. Tal'Darim, like, to be honest, like, the play he did is quite good, you know, in the sense that he's never gonna get pressure, so he's going to sacrifice some CS and some turret damage to create something, and it paid off big time here. Like, you can see the timing of it is quite good, you know. Tal'Darim is walking, like, even this wave is so pushing, Trundle's coming up top there, and he knows he can't walk up anyway, taking this path into mid lane, cross these pink wards, and avoid all the vision from Samsung, and then he comes in here behind Crown. He has the Q and the slow from the E, and Samsung all of a sudden give 2 kills. So the main thing here is that at this point in time, I just sincerely believe that Fenerbahce are stronger in the 2v2, and Samsung, for them to win, they need to play the battle where no all-in commitment is happening, and Ezreal from this position is taking the aggressive path. The way Samsung need to play it with Syndra and Ezreal is that they need to play through lane, and then they need to bait the engage of the enemy and then poke him down while it happens. But this gave them just too clean of an engage, and they can just one-shot both Ezreal and Syndra at this point in time, and it's just a massive issue here for Samsung that they give up kills like this. But Fenerbahce are definitely playing to the strength. They know that Samsung have no summoners in mid, and that is where they can create some damage. Top tower falls as a trade-off. Fenerbahce are doing the best they can to push bottom, but they were quite late at starting it. They were quite late starting it because Fenerbahce were under pressure bottom the entire time. Jana walks top side and Zaya's in bottom lane now, and she's pushing in while Trundle's already hitting the tower. So this is why Samsung managed to gain a turret and the enemy team lost a turret. So this is the way you have to play eventually with Ezreal, is that you just walk through lanes and you try to poke the enemy. Ezreal is really fed, so that is a big positive for him. And the main fact for Ezreal is that he has very expensive items. Are we in this situation again? I thought we rewound here. Crown is just gonna get killed again. Sejuani ultimate lands. Whoa, the passive damage from Echo does a shit ton of damage. So not sure what Crown here is doing in the river. He's trying to meet up. No one is showing up on the mid wave, right? Sure, they killed the mid wave, but no one is showing up. I think the decision here from Syndra should have been that she hit mid tower and Trundle is pinging it. Like Kuve is like, hit mid tower, dude. And Samsung are like going to clear vision here, but in reality, I think the play should have been that they hit mid tower and then they are more grouped together while Trundle is there, and then they force the enemy to show up. Like this, you know, Fenerbahce didn't have a big reason besides the creeps in mid lane to show up, while in reality, Samsung could have given them more reasons, taking the vision uncontested because they would know where Fenerbahce would be. So that is the main thing with creeps, right? It's all about getting priority and doing all these great things with your priority. But at the same time, if the enemy makes the sacrifice to lose that wave that you take priority in, they can still contest any kind of space. So in this case, sure, Samsung have priority. They should be able to take control of the river. But the trade-off, Frozen and Fenerbahce are basically paying 150 gold to contest an area. So they are giving up those 6 CS just in order to contest the space. And it worked out for them, right? They picked up a kill on Crown. And in reality, what Samsung should have done is they pushed in the wave. They should have hit the tower together with Trundle. Even in other cases, they should have hit the tower. And they should have just played around the fact that they have full vision topside. And then the moment Fenerbahce's mid laner or jungle shows up, they can then walk into the bot side river. Har now, with his Rift Herald that he gained from before together with Trundle, is going to just finish off this mid tower. It's going to be a big deal, but Fenerbahce don't have the best wave clear right now unless they put Zaya in the mid lane. So it's going to give Samsung the tower here. Looks like bottom is also going to fall. I'm going to take a look at the gold advantage here. It should be pretty big now for Samsung, maybe 4,000, yeah, 4,000. And, well, 3,000 and a half, to be more precise. And we're going to continue. I'm just going to open a window, like the heat is killing me in this room. I'm getting toasted. Okay. Back ahead, what did I miss? What did I miss here? Let's take a step back. Fenerbahce, after Samsung got bottom tower and Drake the base, and Fenerbahce just pushed in bottom all the way. Turret lost a lot of HP from the mid engagement from before, because Zaya and Jana were hitting bot tower before Lulu, and before Lulu was there, they did it under the nose of Tristana, so the turret was already low. And eventually, like, if both teams play good macro, they're going to lose all their outer tower except maybe mid lane, because mid lane is easier to play around and to center yourself around, because that is like the center of the map. And eventually, in like good macro games, and if you want to make good macro decisions, you're going to lose your outer towers, because that's just like the byproduct of it. Your outer towers are going to fall while you're making good macro decisions. That's why it's very hard to perfect game someone, because usually making a good decision involves losing your outer towers, unless you're like super far ahead and you can just stomp on everyone and you just maintain the lanes and you just go crazy like that. At this point in time, like, Samsung have better wave clear around mid. Zion Jana is gonna do well, and it's a question of you know, Choga is gonna match the Trundle on bottom, and who's gonna match the Echo on top. And right now it's very hard for Samsung to do either. Main thing here is that Samsung lost their mid tower from the prior thing, and that could have been a massive deal. Like if they had mid tower at this point in time, it'd be very easy for them to play Lulu and Tristana on the side and Syndra in mid, and she would be able to wave clear and do great things alone if she had this mid tower. But without this mid tower, it's easy for her to just lose her advantage. So I'm thinking this is a bit risky sending Crown into the upside. Haru is also in position. Samsung are doing this thing where they play 4 together, and they are just supporting, so Frozen cannot all in. Crown now maybe he can get the stun up, but he misses absolutely everything. Echo's very mobile of him, so it's not the biggest insult, but it's still something. Kuva is using the function that a lot of players don't. He's using the /ignore function. That kind of a function can help you win games. In this case, Kuva is just doing it to take turrets. Sometimes you can do it in solo queue not to get tilted by what people write to you. It's a very, very underrated tool. Tron's gonna keep doing what he's doing bottom, where he's gonna just try to hit the turret under Tal'Daren's nose. Let's take a look now why are there Samsung base while this happened. So they get a mid wave, they go into top, they get a mid wave and they base, and then Syndra killed most of the top wave, and then she's in position. And this was a fine base, right? They killed both waves, and then they walk out together into the mid lane, and then Echo's top. This would be like the one moment where Fenerbahce have priority, and they're using it to take the top tower. We mentioned before that losing the waves, losing the outer towers is a part of playing proper macro if the enemy team is like on even footing on some grounds at least. Sure, Samsung Galaxy is some gold ahead, but you can't criticize them too heavily of losing some top turret damage. The main problem here for Samsung is that they I don't think they are sending the right people against Echo. If Echo is in a side lane alone against Syndra, then Echo's gonna have a field day. He's gonna have a lot of fun, and it's going to be hard for Syndra here. I think Syndra will do better against Zaya and Jana, and I think Tristana should be up top together with Lulu to deal with the Echo. Once again, big issue here, that mistake that Samsung did to manage to lose mid tower even when they are the ones getting Rift Herald. Banshee's Veil getting bought on Syndra. I like it considering he's playing against 3 magic damage dealers and he just doesn't want to get one shot. And on top of that, like, it's hard for the enemy team to break the Banshee that Crown is going to buy, and that matters a lot as well. Stun onto Zaya, cleanse from Crown. Maybe it wasn't necessary. Maybe it was a bit of a snap cleanse. Let's see what could have happened. There would be no follow from Echo. He didn't W down. But I feel like if the enemy team, when they commit, then you can start cleansing and get yourself in a better position, and then maybe pick up a kill because of it, because you bait them in with your cleanse. But right, like that, I felt like if the enemy team didn't commit there, then you put yourself in a situation where your cleanse just gets used, and it really just doesn't matter. He could have saved it and then maybe bait the enemy further in and then use it. Whoa. Alright. I feel like I'm having like a lack of oxygen. It's crazy. Great flash here. No ult from Sejuani, but the stun lands. He's a dead Trundle. Samsung, can they just start the Baron? Very unlikely. They don't have a tank, and they'll take a lot of damage from it. Ezreal's not the best Baron taker. The main issue here from Samsung that hasn't been pointed out by me or by Fenerbahce in their play is that if Fenerbahce managed to get priority on one wave and they just try to contest things through mid lane and then just walk into topside river, it will be very hard for Samsung to regain vision. The main problem then for Fenerbahce to do this is that they need priority in mid lane, and then they can go to Baron. Or they can just skip the midway completely and go straight to Baron and then get control like that, which is a play that they did before and they got a kill because of it. But the main thing here for me is that Fenerbahce just struggle to get mid priority with their picks against the enemy team's picks, and the way they need to do it is it's just with sheer force. By the looks of it, Echo is buying Hourglass third. He's going to have to buy Void Staff. I was thinking if he would get Void Staff third, could be a possibility, but Hourglass is also something that Echo can utilize very, very well without any issues, right? It's like making use of Echo Hourglass is easy. You know, you just W and then you use Hourglass on top of it, and then when you pop out, you get your shield and you do all these fancy things, right? And it's definitely a utility thing. Excuse me, it's been a very long day. I've been building IKEA furniture and doing a bunch of stuff, you know, that I needed to catch up on for a very long time. But this game was also on my list for things that I need to catch up on, so it had to be done, you know. It's about getting yourself busy, keeping yourself busy. So once again, Samsung can just keep playing this game where they dance around playing the 1-3 and the 4-1, like the 0-4-1 pretty much, and as long as they can maintain priority to mid lane, they can scale into this game more and more safely. Echo also spikes a lot with his items. He has Hourglass now, and when he gets his Void Staff, he's going to be very, very powerful. So this is something that still gives Fenerbahce some potential to do great things here. Echo is also farming the side lanes, and Samsung is sharing a lot of CS because Samsung are not able to, with the way they play right now, they're not able to farm top lane as effectively as they want to. So while Echo is getting all these waves top lane because of his TP, like in theory TP, what TP does for a team is that it gives you more CS, it gives you more farm, and that is the byproduct of TP, right? And the fact that he's playing Echo in the Syndra. He's now level 16 against Syndra's 14, and it means so much because that is like, stat-wise, it's worth a lot of gold. What you get from levels, it's crazy how much it is, and I'm sure someone has made the calculation on it, but I think it can like go upwards to like 500, 600 gold, even more in some cases, depending on what kind of a level it is. Like if it's level 6, then it's a lot more, right? But I'm not gonna say that I have the numbers exactly for Echo. But it means a lot that he's so far ahead, right? See the flash from Core JJ. Let's take a look at the situation again. I like the approach here, but the main issue for Samsung is that they're clearing wave with Syndra top. I feel like they're just doing it with the wrong person, because I think there's a chance even that Tristana does fine in the 1v1 or even the 2v1, and then Syndra just kept alone in the mid lane. But they keep sending Syndra on side, and then in this case, Samsung should be giving up presence in the mid lane. They're walking up for the wave, but in reality they should be standing. Let me paint this up. They should be standing in this area, in this pink. This pencil was a bit too fat for me. Alright, let's take a look. Right there, boom. This is where they should be standing so they can get support from Syndra if the case happens. But instead they are contesting midway very, very heavily while Syndra is clearing top. And biggest problem with Syndra clearing top is that she shows up, and if you try to contest things in mid lane while this is happening, you're just gonna get smashed. It's about being on the same page. Haru was in position, and Samsung bot lane here was in fact not. JJ flashes and just gets ran over, because of course Fenerbahce don't need to be afraid of anything if Syndra is showing up top. So this game is turning quickly into some crazy stuff here. This is a situation where Echo is very, very happy because the enemy team needs to walk in, and they also don't have like the best front line to do so. Jungle can do some stuff, and Hourglass was used. Kuve is in the mix, but he has a lot of stats because of his ultimate, which I think is called Contaminate, but I'm not too sure. Ruler's low HP now, and Fenerbahce can just continue to pressure Nasher. Warmock's Heart is healing away on Taldrin, and he's getting some HP back, and the fact that Taldrin has Feast here is going to make Fenerbahce's attempt here to take the Baron even better. Not too sure if it was the right call here to commit on the Trundle. Sure, he has no ultimate, but the fact that he's already itemized MR and a lot of armor already makes him rather tanky. Maybe Samsung could have baited even further here from Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce maybe potentially could have baited even further and then forced the fight with the Echo W, but it just didn't happen in this case. So Fenerbahce's execution could have definitely been better. Let's take a step back just to check what the Baron HP was. It's I think it's close to half. When the enemy team starts to approach, you see 7k, and 7k it wasn't half. Maybe it would have been risky if they stayed longer. But I feel like it would have been the best play. Like Samsung, both Ruler and Haru are really low on HP, and I think the issue here for Fenerbahce is that they're just committing on the wrong person. Like, who cares about Trundle, to be honest? Sure, he doesn't have ultimate, but he's still built very, very tanky. After this happens, okay, let's take a look here. Fenerbahce use a lot of cooldowns and they need to take a defensive path into mid lane. Samsung get both mid lane priority and then walk towards National. Samsung now are in a state where they didn't base. Choga is staying. He could have based and TP'd right potentially, but there's no worse to TP on, so he's going to be like the meatloaf that face checks this. And then maybe Samsung commit onto him. But Fenerbahce's problem here is quickly diminished, and there's no issue. Main thing for Fenerbahce is that they just need to base. I remember the TSM play that they made was that the fake base and then they just walk straight to Nasher, and then Fenerbahce was the enemy team, not Fenerbahce, but the enemy team was just out of position because they assumed that TSM would base. I think this was a similar case where Samsung did, or Fenerbahce expected Samsung to base, and in fact it happened. Oh, didn't talk about Infernal at all. So the main thing here is that if we just analyze the team compositions, right, is that Samsung, they just want to scale further and further so Tristana can 1v9 this game. Maybe get like even a Maul Mortis on her and her last Whisper so she can melt through these tanks. And then Samsung just want to play the kiting game. They just want to play the kiting game. They have a lot of DPS, but they don't have the best engage. But they have a lot of range. They outrage the enemy, so it forces Fenerbahce to put themselves in situations where they catch people and where they engage very, very well. Difficult task against the enemy team, and Mikhail is being built. Not really. It's actually Redemption. It's not a Mikhail's. But Mikhail's would have been a beauty here as well, I think. So Samsung just want to play the fights super slow, and Fenerbahce want the opposite. They want to get a clean, good engagement where Echo comes from a good angle and they just need to one-shot someone. And that is a difficult task to do against Tristana Lulu. There's a lot of peel on Samsung's hands here, like Ezreal doesn't need help, and then Syndra stun and Lulu W, and Lulu is just very powerful at, what's it called? I'm trying to find the word. Peeling at these assassins. A big spike here for Fenerbahce would be when they reach the point where they get Void Staff on Echo. Let's take a look at the reasoning here why they decide to recall. Ezreal is recalling on top of a ward on Raptors. He's not even recalling in the bush, he just doesn't give a fuck, he's just basing straight on the ward. Fenerbahce are taking this clutch moment where the enemy team is quite in fact like stuck under the turrets, like Syndra's catching top. Because she needs to catch top very deep, she's walking top now to make sure that she can be under the turret for her maximum safety. Fenerbahce, on the other hand, are just making use of this big way that their split pushing Echo is stacked up. And let's see now. This is an Ashe. Ezreal just legit just based on a ward. And that gave Fenerbahce the confidence to just do Nasher though. Quite impressive here from Fenerbahce that they're very decisive in their approach, and They just punished the fact that Haru was in fact in base. They punished the fact that Syndra had to clear top, and they just went for it. A big deal here because the gold gap is suddenly closing, and Echo reaching Void Staff could be a massive breaking point here for Fenerbahce. It's not like their AD is bad in late game. They have an AD that is on equal footing when it comes to items. She should have slightly less gold now, and maybe she can even reach a breaking point faster than Tristana did. So it's going to be curious to follow, because some Zayas are doing incredible ultimates and doing great things, and some Zayas are not. I think definitely Zaya is a skill champion, and you can use the ultimate for a lot of juicy things. She has low attack range, but has a lot of DPS output because her feathers are all over the place, and it's hard to just keep track of. So now when Echo has Void Staff, the main question is, does he beat Trundle in the 1v1? And to be honest, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sold on it. I think Kuve is tanky enough. Joga, ooh, wow, is he? He just gets bursted pretty hard here. Yeah, I'm not even sure if the passive proc there. I think it did. Yeah, he did take half health off of Trundle in kind of one combination together with Sejuani. Sejuani doesn't do that much damage at this point, right? So Frozen is definitely a lot stronger than Trundle on the side now with the Void Staff. YamatoCannon needs to commit with his ultimate for him to win a fight, and it's very easy for Echo to just disengage at that point without taking any risks. I feel like Fenerbahce could have potentially just spread their Baron more. Like Choga could be top lane right now and using this wave and speeding this wave up and crashing it into top wave. He's instead rotating into mid. Not too big of a fan of it. I think when you're the one with the double TP, you're the one that wants the enemy team to split up. And if he stayed top, it would have forced a response from Samsung, and it would have been a better situation, I think, because Fenerbahce want to avoid the situation with their group. They want to make sure that the TPs get maximum value. While Samsung don't want to be engaged on, the other way around, you can see and notice is that they don't have much engage either. They have very little engage, and whoa, Trundle almost get one-shotted there. They have very little engage, so it's very hard for Samsung to come back in a position where they're just behind. Like at this point they're behind, right, and the enemy team has Nashor, so it means they're in the current time and the current kind of state the game is in, that they are behind because of the Baron buff. And Samsung, when they're behind with this comp, there's no miraculous way to engage on some carry or do some sick stuff. So it's very important here that Samsung stay level-headed and keep themselves in the game, because when they fall behind, they're not going to be able to face check shit. They're not going to be able to get the vision that they need. Let's say maybe they could send a Trundle in and face check with him. That could be a possibility, but he's also having a lot of duties already where he needs to contest the side wave and do positive things on the side wave too. I would like to see like a situation where Trundle is just pure 1v1ing Echo, like maybe boxing rules style, or boxing rules they just straight up just fight 1v1. For some reason, like I got like deja vu of Floyd Mayweather, and I just spaced out. I was like, holy moly, Floyd Mayweather, and then I just thought of boxing. But Echo wants to wear Trundle out. Like Trundle is gonna fight like Conor McGregor and just go for the knockout right away and ult, and Echo just needs to play it chill, you know. He needs to play it out and just basically just be cool, you know, be cool. So the game has, you know, it has accelerated a lot. I felt like the game time was speeding by, and looking at what both teams accomplished during this time, the most important thing was the Baron dance, and how Fenerbahce got the Baron. Baron is now off, and Samsung are definitely not weak in a situation where the enemy team starts the Elder Dragon. It's all about Samsung now kiting the opposition. Big thing for Echo as well is that he should try to maybe one-shot Lulu think it's definitely a possibility if he manages to QE her and maybe land an insane W to even get more. Wait. Let's take a look now. Did Ezreal just get ulted? Yeah, you get ulted, and then the silence. There's no Q from Tal'Darim, no Q. Doesn't have just Q. Feast lands on Ezreal, and Crown just dies. Holy moly. Big issue for Samsung that it's hard for them to stay in bushes. They just need to beat the death ball, the sieges, and when the enemy doesn't care too much about waves like Fenerbahce are doing here, then they're just standing in the position where Samsung want to contest. And in a case where Fenerbahce are just controlling the spaces very well, then it's very hard for Samsung to take it back. As we can see now, even though they're getting the mid waves, it's hard for them to face check. Crown dies eventually, he used both summoners very awkwardly, and you know, the fight just started too good for Fenerbahce. Great engage here from Crash, and he managed to get the ultimate on the Ezreal, and Tristana just gets heavily out-traded here by Isaiah. You can see the trade goes off, and Padan just goes for the autos and just wins the trade-off, which is very crazy. Very crazy stuff. But the more and more I see of Zaya, the more I am like certain that she's the shit, you know. She's the GOAT of ADs right now, and I like the commitment from Padan here because he knows strictly from itemization he's going to win the 1v1, and also if he flashes in first he's going to be the one autoing first in a lot of cases. And the big reason here why Padan is committing to this 1v1 with Ruler is the fact that Padan has Bloodthirster. He has Bloodthirster while the enemy AD is itemizing Last Whisper. The Last Whisper is not that useful in the 1v1, and Padan's Bloodthirster is doing so much work right here off the bat, and it was a great play from Padan that he just committed to the 1v1. He commits to the 1v1 and it's completely fine, and it was very close that Ruler died here. But all things considered, you know, the more and more we see of this game, the more and more we see the issues now of Samsung's composition. I think if Ezreal was any other pick that allowed them to face check, and that is where the problem of banning Gragas comes in, then I feel like this game would have looked a lot different. But Samsung just need to run away from Sejuani and Cho'Gath because they're so beefy. You know, they are jacked. Like this is Dwayne Johnson right here, and this is like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. So, you know, with all things considered, you know, it's still hard to deal with these champions, especially if you get this clean of an engage that Crash did, you know. Like he straight up hit the target, very important target, and Ezreal just gets completely smashed here. Tal'Darim could have used his Q maybe earlier, but didn't, but it's completely fine anyway. Like you could see how Samsung was just forced to flash out almost instantly. Let's take a look at this situation again. You know, they're poking away, but Sejuani has the passive and the initial kind of burst of it all. And then right here with the position of Echo, they're just walking a bit up too far. They could play to top side now, and Echo had full vision on Elder Dragon, so they don't need to necessarily stand in that bush. Because someone's gonna have to clear mid lane eventually, and then they can try to contest the bush. But right now, from this angle, Crown has no reason to be here. Absolutely no reason to stand in this bush. This is a problem. And then the fact that Samsung are walking into this area is also a big problem, because Echo right now, like I was saying, that Echo gives vision on the Elder, but let me rethink this, because for some reason in my mind Echo was a Samsung player for some time. Let me rethink this. So Samsung have one ward here. They spot Sejuani. They also see Cho'Gath clearing a ward. So, to be honest, Crown has very little reason to stand here. But because he knows about this, he knows about this. Like he knows this and he knows this. So the main question here is, you know, what is the play for Samsung? Eventually, like, what is going to happen in this game? Like, how do they win this game? And let's say Fenerbahce just straight up, just after the situation, they force Samsung away. Let's say that Samsung is taking top, like instead of playing to this side, they're just playing to top side, clearing the wave, and then the wave has to operate into the tower. Let's say that Fenerbahce just straight up ignore that wave. Then it means that Samsung need to walk all the way up, and what is the best thing Samsung can hope for is to just give up all objectives in this game and play around the fact that they are running it down mid. It's hard for me to think of a good way for Samsung to win this game at this point in time, because Trundle's losing the split against Echo, which matters so much with the void start from Frozen, right? And at the same time, Samsung are also losing the pressure when it comes to controlling the river. Like, sure, they can clear the mid waves, but it doesn't necessarily matter if the enemy team just doesn't give a fuck. They don't give, like, they don't give, like, this is zero fucks. You know, they give none of that, and they're just using the fact that the enemy team has a very hard time of face checking. So it's hard for me to hear, for me to imagine a way Samsung could have won. The better way they should have played is with Samsung up top lane, put the Tristana there so she would have priority. I think the way Samsung played with Syndra on side was very, very poor and bad. And all things considered, like, we're 36 minutes into the game and Syndra is still level 17, while Echo's been 18 for quite some time now. And I think that's also a big issue. There's been a lot of XP sharing, and I think Samsung played the 1-3-1 poorly. I think they should have kept the Syndra in mid lane, in mid, and then up top send the Tristana. Just didn't happen. And Syndra was forced to clear waves up here, and no priority or pressure was gained from that. But Fenerbahce are definitely playing it good, like, they're baiting around the objectives, they're not focusing on the wave so much, they are recognizing that Samsung cannot face check them. They cannot face check them, and the only way for them to do that is with Trundle. And even then, like, Trundle can melt at this point in time. Like, he doesn't necessarily, he's not some super tank, and even him face checking can be a bad thing for Samsung. So Fenerbahce now in a glorious position, and they are really, really happy with what's going on right now. They can just commit to the split push game. Like, the main thing here is that Echo didn't even use TP or anything. He was just here in position for this, and Samsung are getting clapped. Like, sure, you can say that they shouldn't have died, as we talked about, how Crown shouldn't stand in that bush, but I'm just having a hard time imagining how they should play this game optimally. I just think draft-wise, they don't have a donk. They just don't have a donk jungler that can face check stuff at this point in time, and it's a big issue for them. Sure, they can use spells to check bushes, but is that good enough? I doubt it. They could also use, like, Ezreal ultimate, you know, and Kuvi didn't TP in that case, and maybe I mentioned before is maybe the play from Samsung is because Trundle is losing sideways, you just group with him and then face check with him and then hope for the best, because they have a lot of targets on their team, or a lot of champions on the team that can actually do a lot of damage. And with Trundle ultimate, maybe they can just melt someone. Like, if he just gets engaged on and he Trundle ults and survives for a very long time, then it can still be a fine situation for Samsung. So I guess we figured out the puzzle of how Samsung actually get priority. Is like sending Kuve and just ignore the side lane. And alright, that's Sejuani ultimate that lands and the slow comes in. Heal was used from Lulu. Trundle flash, he's taking a lot of damage regardless. Like, he's so low, so low. Let's see what he ulted. Like, he ulted very early in the fight. He ulted Cho'Gath. I mean, he ulted Sejuani by the looks of it. Just get the massive stats. Very close to Kuba dice. Crazy close. Like, sure, he had GA, but saving GA matters so much too now. How do Samsung commit here? Like, how do Samsung get in here? Like, the only way for them is to poke. Like, they can poke, and Fenerbahce just need to look for the turn with this guy, like it goes here. No Sejuani ult, so no Sejuani ult, that's a big deal. And no Janna ult, that's also a big deal. On the other hand, we don't have a Trundle ult, we don't have a Syndra ult. There was a lot of burst, like no ults on Samsung side at all. Like, they just tried to burst the Syndra and it didn't work out. So right now, with the lack of ultimates, this is looking quite good for Fenerbahce. Whoa, the feast at 1.9k combined with the smite was quite juicy, I would say. Oh, this looks like Fenerbahce's game. You know, this is. I'm just struggling with the idea of how will Samsung compete in this game. It has to be like some late game team fight. Has to be some really deep late game team fight where Samsung just fight on a lane or manage to get a good fight off against near objectives. But if Fenerbahce just played slow, play with the fact that they can have full objective control and it's hard for Samsung to face check, then I think they do have an advantage. But I like what Fenerbahce was doing with ignoring mid waves and just maintaining pressure in the area that Samsung wanted to go into. I think there could be like a potential here for Cho'Gath also to just push top, and Fenerbahce could just spread their Nashor as much as possible. Because right now, like, the enemy team will be grouped and Echo is bottom, so you're not going to accomplish anything mid, and then it's just better to split the enemy team up in 3. It's also like the wave top is stacking, right? So they're gonna, this wave is going to be effective for them so much later because no one actually went out to clear it. So they could have potentially spread Nash to 3 lanes, and it could have been a lot better. I think that's important to highlight. Whoa, pardon. With the Zaya ultimate. Pardon the sound, I thought I muted my phone. Well, I 100% muted my phone. That was not even my phone. I don't know what I'm hearing. Maybe there's someone outside because I have a window open. Okay, let's continue. So Fenerbahce just need to keep doing the same thing. They still had the Baron buff, so I suggest that they keep spreading the Nashor. Another issue, you know, speaking of Fenerbahce's side, you know, breaking the enemy's base against a full range comp that has a lot of wave clear is also a difficult thing. That's why I'm suggesting that they just spread their Nashor, spread the enemy's wave clear, and then they are in the better state. And then eventually, like with one auto, and then maybe Echo auto attack bottom, and with Lich Bane, you know, with all these things, they are eventually going to slowly work their way into the enemy base. But without the Baron, I sincerely doubt that they're gonna get much else here. Like, I overestimated the amount of time 50 seconds would be, but I didn't like the fact that Toldren made use of the top wave so late. Because look, the moment the top wave crashes, right, we can see that Syndra is here. You can just look at the minimap of Samsung, like we have one guy here, we have number 2 here, and then we have Lulu trying to support this. You can see her sweeper is going on right here, so Lulu is right here, you know, like Lulu is right here. This is my Lulu painting. So Lulu is right here, right? This is number 3. Trundle's bottom, Tristana's here, midwave is coming. Like, in a case where they were just doing this earlier, they would have actually potentially broken the enemy's base. They should have just spread the Nashor and played it on 3 lanes and forced the enemy team to split up. I would have enjoyed that much more, and the potential for you to hit the enemy tower goes up so much when there's less enemies, right? Because when there's more enemies, the potential of you getting one shot is so much higher, and there's a lot of like liability claims that the enemy team can file. They can call their lawyer and be like, this guy is on my property. You are catching my drift, right? But of course, you know, Fenerbahce should have just spread their Baron a lot earlier. So now the Baron buff is off. Fenerbahce didn't break the base, and I think with this in mind, Fenerbahce now needs to play around the next Nashor. Blade King by on our dear friend Ruler here to just kill the tanks faster, because that's the name of the game. He needs to kill the tanks. Echo with these items is lethal though. He's crazy lethal, and you know, he can one-shot shit right now. Like, he has the death cap, he's around the 600 AP, and he can do a lot of damage. And it's very rare that we see Echo reach these points of the game, but his burst is massive. His burst is crazy big. It's like, it's insane, you know. And Zaya is not too shabby late game either. And you know, as long as Fenerbahce play the same game where Samsung need to face check them, and they just need to, what you call it, they just need to bait the enemy in, then they can do fantastic things. They can do fantastic things. So let's continue. Finally, people on Samsung are level 18. Yay! They're channeling their inner Froggen. Baron is up in 1 minute, and Fenerbahce just need to keep playing around it. They should still play on 3 lanes though. I don't know about Choka being bottom. They should just keep trying to push every lane and maintain that advantage while the enemy team just wants to remain grouped and poke the enemy team. Frozen up top now, no one can really deal with him. He can trade heavily with the Trundle. I wish he just hits him so we can see how much damage it does, but Samsung are supporting top. Trundle is not getting the wave. They're going for the gank here. Crash. Didn't get ulted by Trundle. It was just a pillar. And then Crash got away. He also had flash up. There's a wave hitting top. I don't know if Frozen should have just hit the third top side once. Maybe it would have been risky because all things considered he doesn't have any vision, right? So it's easier, much easier to say that he had time to hit third top once, and you know, when in reality he doesn't see what we see, you know. So it's a very difficult decision to make. The enemy team was pretty much just hiding in fog of war. Okay, so the moment of truth. Samsung, how are they going to play out the Nash situation? I feel like they just need to do the same thing that Fenerbahce has been doing for them, because it's such a big deal to just be in position in river. Elder Dragon is also up in 30 seconds, so that's spawning 2, which is going to make it very interesting. Frozen is up top lane, that puts Samsung on a timer. Samsung can do this Nasher very, very fast. They can do it, and Fenerbahce have a lot of tools to walk in here. Echo is out of position, Tolerance take a lot of damage, and there's such a big advantage for Samsung now because the enemy team is walking into them, but Echo just gets one clap. He has everything up. And this could be like the game. This legit could just be the game. Like Samsung could just push all the way through with 60-minute death timers. But oh, the jump. Ooh. Yeah, Tristana is online. 50 seconds. 50 seconds. Is this end at the end of the game? Kuvi can TP in. They have enough. They have a cannon minion surviving here. Yeah, it's just the end of the game. Holy. Okay. Okay. Whew. So the roles were reversed, right? I just feel like whoever took control of a Nash first is just in such a better state. Because if Samsung need to face check into them, sure, they could actually potentially just poke, and they could also deny the enemy team's engage, and then they could just jump away from the Sejuani ult and things like this. So maybe Samsung weren't in such a bad state as we considered in the first place, or as I considered in the first place. It just seemed like such an impossibility for Samsung to actually contest space. But right now, maybe the problem is that Fenerbahce are not grouping up. Like Samsung is already grouping up and Nash is spawning in 10 seconds. This is the key wave to get yourself in the position around Baron. And then Fenerbahce do this thing, like Samsung are just going straight to Nash, and they, like Samsung comp is very happy when the enemy team tries to engage on you, right? They have a lot of disengage and they have a lot of ranged champions that can kite you, and this is not that bad of a situation. You know, this is where the laws of Sejuani that we brought up earlier apply, where Cleanse is super powerful, Ezreal and Tristana have a hard time getting caught, and then it just starts off with this. What am I hearing? Wait, sorry. What is this sound? Pardon me. Let's continue. So Echo split pushing, is it the correct decision? Because it's 46 minutes into the game, enemy team can do Nashor very, very fast. The positioning at Nashor seems to be so more important. Is the mistake that Fenerbahce just didn't control Nashor when they had control of the game? Like right now they're basing at 20 seconds before the Nashor spawns. 20 seconds, and Samsung are already on the map. Is the mistake that they just overstayed? Because right now, let's say they already started, like if they just started to base right now, and then they would have the full minute to take control of a Nash space and then be grouped up while Samsung is dealing with their side lanes. Because looking at it right now, like they stayed. Cho'Gath is going for another wave, he's going for another wave, which is completely useless. Echo is basing now, and like everyone is base 20 seconds before Nash responds. So Samsung in the current state right now are just out on the map first. Like Xayah's going towards red. Xayah's going towards red 5 seconds before the Nash responds. I think Fenerbahce didn't realize how big of a deal it would be if, imagine the scenario where they are the ones that are positioned here. They're positioned here. They're the ones here, like, let's see, draw some lines. They are the ones here, and they have full vision over here, and the enemy team is forced to face check. All of a sudden, it would be so much more beautiful. It would be so much better. It would be 10 times better. And this, to me, is the game-losing mistake. Fenerbahce should have maintained pressure, base earlier, and then taken control over Nash earlier and forced the enemy team to face check into you, and then you would be in a better state, where Xayah would have been a lot more valuable. But now the tables have turned. Fenerbahce are the ones that need to face check. They are losing position here. You can see that in this scenario, like why this position is bad, is that they are grouped up. The enemy team needs to walk into here, and they're walking into a meat grinder. They are the ones face checking bushes. You can play this along sides here. Echo's pushing top. He's creating a wave. Can't really surf it because Samsung already cleared the way. The wards. Loot trinket gets used, and then Fenerbahce are the ones face checking. And potentially, like, there's a mistake here from Crash that he just, you know, like maybe Taldren is walking up too much, because Taldren, like, is taking a lot of unnecessary damage, I would say. Like, he's taking a lot of damage here. He didn't need to walk up that far. Maybe they could have played this a bit slower, where Echo might come in. Like, the Baron is at half health. They could have just waited maybe a bit longer here, and then Echo could come in, and maybe the fight would be better then. They could have definitely played the situation better, but I think there's a big mistake in the fact that they didn't base at a good and reasonable time. So looking back at this, you know, looking at this situation, they definitely should have played it slower. They just need to wait for the undercover brother to come in here. But right now, like, his team is disengaging, and he's just running in there, and Core JJ just completely demolishes him. Knock up into Polymorph, and he just gets one-shotted. Mercs doesn't matter. And it doesn't take a lot to one-shot an Echo at this point in time. Like, it does a lot of damage, but as we said in the pregame, it's very hard to play Echo into Lulu. So all in all, fantastic game, fun game. I think Samsung definitely should have lost this one based on what happened, based off of the comp as well, the issues of the comp. And it's just hard for Samsung to do objectives and contest objectives with their comp. But the moment enemy team is forced to engage into you, or where you're ahead with this comp, it's going to look a lot better. But if you're behind, all of a sudden you can't face check bushes, you can't face check stuff, and the game is going to look so much harder. You know, it was quite a pickle to figure out what Samsung should be doing in this game, and the stalling game worked out fine for them. But a lot of mistakes here from Fenerbahce that could have allowed them to finish the game potentially, like with the way they sent Cho'Gath up top side. They should have sent Cho'Gath to clear top waves, and they should have done all of this jazz where they could have pressured the map a lot better, and it would have eventually, like, led into a victory. I need to apologize. Like I did this video very tired. Like I'm going to go and take a nap. I felt like there were times in the video where I was just spacing out, you know, because I was just so tired. I don't know why. And I need to conserve some energy for tomorrow. I'm not going to redo the entire game just because I was tired, and I just wanted to make sure that I get it out there before the matches start. Very interesting play from Fenerbahce. They did some good things. I think it was interesting how they gave up mid-wave and just controlled space. I think this was the right approach because the enemy team had a lot of range, a lot of wave clear. If you try to show them mid lane and contest the mid-wave, you would lose the mid-wave, you will lose position. So they just took position without the mid-wave, and I think that's a fine sacrifice to make in order for you to get the big objectives. So I think Fenerbahce definitely had some good points in this game, but Samsung held strong, and they did a lot of mistakes where they got caught. But to be honest, I think their draft didn't allow them to do as much as Samsung usually do. I did in fact read a lot of comments where people were saying that Samsung looked so lost without ambition. I think Haro played a good game, and looking at their draft, they had very little options. And of course, you know, there were a lot of times where they got caught in mid lane, they got caught in dives. Crown completely threw away that advantage, and sure, you could argue that Samsung have looked a lot better in their games, in their other games, which is completely true. I think that's a fine statement to make as well. So maybe it's fair to say that ambition is the head of this body. We will see as Samsung is playing against both RNG and G2 in the upcoming days. I think it's going to be absolutely insane and crazy. I'm going to look forward to seeing if G2 have a chance to get out of this group. It's going to be very hard, very deadly, but it might happen. Who knows? Might happen. Maybe a three-way tie can be very interesting. We will see. All in all, we will have to pay attention to this Haro situation. But I think a lot of the problems here was I can point to Crown. I think he got caught way too many times. I think that pretty much settles it. I'll see you guys. I'll catch you guys on the freaking flip side. Yeah. Take care. Peace.